So you've made the decision, you're ready to make a big move. Maybe you want to move down the street, you want to move to a different neighborhood, or you want to pick up your bags and head all the way out to Florida or Texas or somewhere like that. At that moment, when you make that decision, you're super excited, you're pumped, you're motivated. You say, hey, let's call an agent, let's get the house listed. Let's say it doesn't go as planned, and slowly but surely the number of showings for your house start to dwindle. Maybe you got one or two offers the first week, and now it's been a while, more days have passed. We're talking weeks turn into months, and before you know it, you get to the end of your listing agreement and your house is labeled as an expired. Now, it's pretty deflating to go through the process, get all the excitement. You're thinking, hey, my house is worth this much. I'm gonna get a ton of money. I'm gonna cash out. I'm moving out of state, or whatever you're doing. And then only for time to march on and the market not seem to feel the same way about your house as you did. Hey guys, it's Mike over at Building Realty here in Chino Hills. In today's video, I'm gonna go over the reasons why a house doesn't sell. Now, if you're watching this and you've ever gone through the trauma that is an expired listing, you'll know what I'm talking about. You're super pumped, you make the decision, hey, we're gonna sell the house, we're gonna move, we're gonna go live closer to grandma or whatever you're going. You're super excited in the moment, you call up a realtor, you get the house listed, and there's a lot of excitement in the beginning, and then maybe you got a couple offers, but they weren't quite good enough, and you're gonna hold out for that bigger offer. And the days turn into weeks, and the weeks turn into months, and before you know it, there's fewer and fewer people asking to see the property, and even fewer offers coming in. So time marches on, and you get to the end of the listing period, and it's expired. And if anybody has ever had their house expire on the MLS, you may not be prepared to what's going to happen to you. Your phone is going to blow up. Every realtor and their brother and their cousin and their aunt are gonna call you. It's gonna start early in the morning and it's gonna go all day, all week. Your batteries are gonna go dead from your phone blowing up so much. Super annoying, but there's a good reason why realtors do that. The chances are your home expired for a couple of reasons that might have been easily fixable, and they want an opportunity to try to sell it and show you what went wrong. I'm gonna go over the top reasons why homes expire and don't sell. So this video is also accompanying an article that is in the second issue of Building Chino Hills magazine. Here's a copy of issue number 1. Issue 2 is going to press this weekend, so by the time you see this video, it's probably out there. If you're a resident in Chino Hills or the surrounding area and you want a free copy, check out the pinned comment down below and I'll show you how you can get a free subscription to the magazine delivered to your door every month. So the first reason, and probably the biggest in my opinion, well, second biggest in my opinion, is improper presentation. First impressions matter. So in our MLS here locally in Chino Hills, we can do what's called a coming soon, and a lot of agents will they'll take a picture with their phone and they'll throw it up there, and they'll get it out there on the coming soon. For me, I'm not a big fan of it unless the photography is the final photography that we're gonna use, because first impression is huge. When our listings go to the MLS, it's the photography that we want. We're happy with the way the house is presented, and we've done tons of work beforehand to make sure the property shows in the best light possible. Now, it's not just professional photography that makes a huge difference. It's the work that you do before the photos are taken. There's nothing worse to see a new listing come on the market and you're looking at pictures of the kitchen and there's dirty dishes on the sink or in the sink. There's a bunch of clutter. You can't even see the countertops, it's so messy. Or silly little things like the toilet seat is up, there's a big plunger sitting next to the toilet. There's tons of medications or toothpaste and bottles and pills all over the countertops. It makes it difficult for them to imagine themselves in the home when there's all this clutter and they can't really see what's behind the clutter. They can't appreciate the house. So some simple decluttering done before photos, professional photos. I'm not gonna make an excuse for using your cell phone, but so spending this time before photos are taken can make a huge difference. So make the photographer's job easier, make your agent's job easier, do at least a minimal amount of straightening out and decluttering before photos are taken. So a debate among us real estate agents, and yes, we do have debates from time to time, is whether or not you can do a property justice with shooting photos on your phone. Now, phone technology is great. It's pretty amazing in the hands of a professional what you can get out of a phone as far as photography and video. But just because you know how to adjust the phone and use it doesn't mean you're a photographer. So I highly recommend that if your agent tells you, oh, we're going to take the photos on our phone, find another agent, or make sure, just don't do it. Don't do it. Hire a professional photographer. You're going to thank me later. A nightmare is when I wake up in the morning and I take a look at the MLS and I see the new listings and I see the agent standing in the mirror in the bathroom, like looking at his phone, and it just ruins it. So agents get paid well enough to hire a professional photographer to take their photos. So that's rule number one. Now, beyond that, you want to make sure you get the right angles. You want multiple angles for every room. You want to find that specific angle that really makes the room shine, or the kitchen, or the living room, or the backyard, whatever the subject is. You want to be sure to get different angles. Lighting is huge. Any photographer will tell you lighting makes all the difference. So make sure the house is well lit. A good photographer can make up for this with the magic that they do with the camera, but the better the lighting to begin with, the natural light, the better the photos are going to be on the other end. Another reason why homes don't sell when it comes to presentation is there's not enough pictures. You know, if you can't get a realistic idea of what the house looks like inside, there's maybe one photo of the living room, or there's one photo of the kitchen. Yeah, you might have a case where you're trying to build some suspense so they have to come in and see it for themselves. But if they haven't seen enough to have that desire, they're gonna skip checking out your house. So that's another way that houses don't get properly presented, is the lack of photography. So you can actually have too many photos. Some buyers can disqualify a house based on the fact that they can see too many angles on the photos, and they might not give the house a chance and go in the door. So you want to find a happy medium with not enough or too much, and give the buyer enough information so that the house is appealing and they make the decision to come see it in person. Now, a little sidebar on seeing it in person. So in real estate, we have what's called a blind offer, and that's an offer written by somebody that's not stepped foot in the house. Buyers are apprehensive to accept blind offers because, at least here in California, you have that inspection period where the buyer can cancel for just about any reason. So let's say they see the house online, they make an offer, the offer gets accepted, they get to the house, they see it for themselves, and it wasn't what they expected. The odds of cancellation are much higher versus somebody that's been in the property, they've seen it with their own eyes, and they're comfortable moving forward. Now, I have sold houses to homes where the buyer stepped in the house for the very first time after the home was theirs. In this case, we used modern technology. We did Zooms, we did FaceTime so they could see everything. We did thorough inspections. In all three cases, they were buyers on the East Coast, and they were moving into Chino Hills. They didn't come out until after we were either in contract, or in two cases until the house was sold. So it is possible to buy a house on the other side of the country. Just make sure the agent that you have representing you on the buy side is covering all the bases and giving you the absolute most information possible so that you're informed on the purchase. You don't want to walk in the door when it's too late, it's yours, and you hate it. So don't do that. So another reason why houses expire and don't sell is that the seller neglects some small things that, if done correctly in the beginning, might have changed the attitude of the buyer when they walk through the door. And what I mean by that is, when a buyer walks into the house, if they're excited about the house, the photos look great online, they want those good feelings to come through again when they walk into the house for the first time. And if there's a lot of little nagging things that weren't done, it's going to change their mind. It's going to change their approach. And then they're going to be looking for things to disqualify the house versus things to reassure their decision that, hey, this is the house we want to buy. Now, I'm planning on doing a longer video that goes over the things that sellers definitely want to pay attention to. But just to give you a condensed list: fresh paint, that's really easy to fix. Painting an entire house is not cheap, but oftentimes it gives you many times your return as far as that investment into sale dollars. So that's usually a good investment, especially if every room in your house is a different color. Pick a nice neutral color that flows, that's contemporary with what the trends are out there, and that will go a long way. And I know you love your house, you've been living there for 20 years, but take a look at the house through the eyes of a buyer. Would you buy this house? Think about the price that you're thinking of, and would you write a check, or would you take out a new mortgage at that price? Go through the house with those eyes, get a notepad, and write down all the little things that you would nitpick if you were trying to justify writing that big check. Go through that and pick out the ones that are most important to you and get those fixed. Usually it's deferred maintenance and you just need to spend some time with a handyman or do it yourself, and you could probably knock out a lot of those things in just one weekend. These could be like holes in the wall that you took a picture off the wall and you left the nail in there and there's a little hole, just patch it up. Or if the doorknobs are worn, that's a pretty cheap fix. Replace the doorknobs. Or if you have a leak somewhere. Leak is a big deal. Definitely you should take care of the leak. Be a little bit more critical when you're looking at your own home through the eyes of a buyer. That will serve you well when it comes time to list the house. Now, the third item on my list is probably the biggest, and that's overpricing the home. I know how it is. You've lived in your house, you've got a ton of cherished memories, the kids grew up there, your dogs, your family had a bunch of family functions, and there's a lot of memories that were made in the house. And sometimes if you base the price that you want to sell your house for based on all those good memories, which a lot of sellers do, you're making a mistake. Setting a price based on emotion is a sure way to guarantee that your house is going to either expire or end up having to lower the price and sell for much less than you might have otherwise if you priced it properly from the beginning. Every market has a season and it fluctuates. Here locally, right now I'm recording this at the end of March and we're starting to get into the busy season. In fact, recently Realtor.com said that the best week to sell your home in the country, now this is countrywide, but it happens to be April 13th through the April 19th. So that's coming up pretty soon. I would say from now until about the end of June, mid-July is the busy season for us here. So let's say you're listing your house at Christmas time and you saw a house that sold just like yours and it sold in June. Let's say it sold for $1 million, but in December, when there's fewer buyers out there, houses are trading for $950 and you're trying to hold out for that $1 million. Well, you have to adjust with the times, you have to adjust with the season and the market. So you can hang on to that $1 million price, but it might not be until the following spring that you get that number. So every market is different. Your realtor should be able to give you accurate data of where the market is in relation to other times of the year. And you can use that to examine your price where you're at. If the showings are falling off and you're not getting as many offers or the offers are all coming in low, you can adjust things and keep an eye on the market all the time. Not only do you want to look at what houses sell for, but you want to look at the properties that are going under contract and going pending and where was that list price to begin with. So if you're at, let's say $850 on your price and there's no movement in that price range, but everything priced under $800 is going under contract, well, you might have to examine and think, do we need to lower the price? Now that might do, and I've seen this a million times, a house will be on the market for 30, 45 days, and all of a sudden they do a decent price change where they'll go down to another bracket. I'll use $850 as an example. Let's say the house was listed at $850, they drop it to $799 or right at $800, and that weekend the open house is packed, they've got multiple offers, and they end up selling the house for $850 or $865, more than they were stuck at that lower price. So pricing strategy goes a long way, and if you don't really have a strategy, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Now, we have a real specific process that we take for every listing that we get, and we use 5 different data sources to come up with a valuation, and then we use intuition. We come up with a price that we believe is going to get the greatest number of bodies through the door to see the house and produce the greatest number of offers. Now, one strategy that some agents use is to price the property way below the market. And I've seen it work successfully multiple times, but it's dependent on a lot of demand in the market. If you use a pricing strategy like that, and let's say things have slowed down, there aren't as many buyers in the market, you might be settling for less than you could get if the house was priced closer to the actual market value. So just be aware if that's a strategy. There are some risks involved there. Are you thinking of relocating to Chino Hills, Chino, Eastvale, or the surrounding area? Well, if you have, I've got something just for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the Ultimate Relocation Guide, which is meant to save you hours of research, and I've created a link right down below. From the top employers, the best shopping, the best restaurants, a boatload of information that you need to know before relocating to the area. The best part is this guide is absolutely free. Just click on the link in the description or the top pinned comment and I'll send it to you right away. Now, the last item on the list, and it's probably the least responsible for houses expiring, and it's a failed negotiation. So right now we're still in a seller's market, but in what we would consider a neutral market, oftentimes the best offer might come in early. So when you think of that first offer, this is going back kind of pre-COVID in what we would call a normal market. You'd list a house and there were people that they had their eye on it. They're the first ones at the open house or they're first ones to request a showing. They're very motivated buyers and maybe they've been looking for a while. So when they make that offer, they don't want to get in a situation where there's multiple offers. So they'll come in with a pretty decent offer out of the gate, and the buyer or the seller will see that offer and think, ooh, this is tempting. I bet if we wait another week or two, we're going to get 5 more offers and they're going to be even better than this one. So what might happen is that weekend, that first weekend, those offers that came in that are at ask or slightly above, the seller might think that, hey, I bet if we wait another week, we're going to get 10 more offers and they're going to be even better. Well, those 10 other offers don't show up, and that initial offer wasn't countered, and that buyer has moved on to another home. It happens all the time, especially in a balanced market. So beware of that depending on where you're at watching this video, what your market is locally. That's what's most important. You'll see national headlines and they attract attention, but real estate is always very local. So see what's happening in your market and adjust the price before your house expires. So the point of this video is why houses expire. So let's say a seller overplays their hand and they've got one offer that came in and they're going to counter it with some really harsh terms. Maybe it's as is, we're not going to repair anything, we're not going to do termite work, we want shortened contingencies, or we want no contingencies at all. That could be an example of why a house might not sell for failed negotiations. The seller or even the buyer might overplay their hand and both parties walk away. So those are the 4 biggest reasons why homes end up expiring, not selling within the listing period. There are a few other little things that do contribute that you should definitely pay attention to, whether you're relisting a home or you've gone through the process of an expired. One of them could be limited showings. Maybe you didn't make the house available to people to come see. You had a 2-hour window once a week, and some people work different hours. They weren't able to make it. They're just going to pass along and go look at a house that's convenient for their schedule. As much as I love making these videos, there's something I love doing even more, and that's helping families and people both move in and out of the area. So whether you are in Maine or in Florida and you're thinking about moving to Chino Hills, the Inland Empire, I want to help you. Or if you're a resident of the area and you want a change of scenery and you're planning to move out of the area, I want to help you there too. Now, whether you're planning on doing something right away or maybe not until next year, I want to help you from the start. My contact information is on the screen and it's also linked down below in the description. So please feel free to reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever it takes, let's talk. I want to help you whether you're coming or going. Another reason why a home might expire is it fell out of escrow. And that could be from a bad appraisal where it came in low, or an inspector that found a ton of stuff that the seller is not willing to budge on. And that kind of goes back to that failed negotiation. There's a book Chris Voss has, Never Split the Difference. Well, I mean, that's great if you have the leverage, but at some point, if you want to move on to the dreams that you have of moving out of town or that new house or wherever you're planning on going, you might have to split the difference and make a deal work. Make it a win-win for everybody. Now, and this last one is poor marketing exposure. So when an agent puts your listing on the MLS, it's going to go out to all the big aggregators. It's going to go to Realtor.com, Zillow, Homes, Redfin, all those. But that's really not enough, especially if the market shifts back to more neutral or even to a buyer's market. As a seller, you want to do everything you possibly can to get your home in front of as many people as possible. Now, Napoleon had this theory in battle that he wanted to do everything. So he would make sure his troops were well supplied on the front line. He would flank the enemy. He would do everything possible to ensure victory for his troops on the battlefield before going into battle. And if Napoleon was a real estate agent, he wouldn't just put the house on the MLS and expect that to be it. There are so many things that agents can do to publicize your home. They can spread it organically on social media. They can do paid advertising. They can do print advertising. They can do brochures. They can do email blasts. There's all kinds of different ways to properly market a home. And if your home is expired, there's a decent chance that some of those things weren't done. And if unfortunately you've gone through the process of having your home expired, hopefully you learned some things. that can be done different the next time you go to sell it or go to list it. And one thing is deciding, do we stick with the agent that wasn't able to sell it? Because lots of times things happen that are completely out of the control of the agent. I don't want to blame agents for every house that has expired. There's certain forces that are at play that, you know, they have no control over. So this isn't a knock on that agent that had their listing expire. But statistically, there was a study done last year by a company called RedX, and homes that were relisted with a new agent had a 71% chance of reselling on the second go round versus a 52% of selling when it was relisted with the same agent. So having fresh eyes on the situation on the property is usually a good idea. So if your home's expired and you're in our area, please give us a call. Let us take a look at it. We'll give you some fresh eyes and see what we might have done differently and talk about where the market is at this moment in time and what you can expect to get for your home. That's all. See you next time. Oh, be sure to subscribe. Our goal is to be to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Right now we're pacing for like 40. So help us out. Give it a like, give it a share, give it a subscribe, and I'd appreciate it. See you then.